Hello and welcome to Attack of the Famiclones HD. In this installment, I'm talking about the Retrobit Retro Entertainment System, a budget-priced Famiclone for those just getting into the NES market, or those who just have a couple NES games that they, want to play every now and then. The Retro Entertainment System is a budget price system that sells for about 20 bucks or so, and for that price, it really is one of the best on the market. It comes in a variety of different colors, although this one is the red and white version, which is the standard typical Famicom colors, to give you that retro throwback even more. It is compatible with about 95 to 98% of the entire NES library. There are a couple games that won't work on it, but for the most part, this thing will work with just about everything. It comes with everything that you need to start playing your NES games. The system itself, of course, it comes with two controllers, a set of AV cables that, frankly aren't that great, but they could be replaced yourself, or you probably have a set lying around the house. And it also comes with its power supply. So, if you look at the back of the box here, it talks about why you should get this thing. It says, tired of blowing into old cartridges? Well, you'll still have to do that. But really, you should get this thing because the original hardware of the NES 001 hardware, is, really aging at this point, and a lot of NESs, their cartridge connectors are starting to, really go bad, and, you'll get that damn blinking power light, and even if you clip the NES 10 lockout chip out of an NES, it's still problematic hardware. So, a Famiclone is a good solution if you're, really not super serious about NES collecting, because if you are, I would suggest you get, a real Famicom instead of a Famiclone. But, for those who are just getting into the market, and don't want to spend a whole lot of money, this is a great alternative. So it comes with these two controllers, these things right here, but I'll get into that in just a moment. So let's throw these aside. There's two NES games, and show you the system itself. So here it is right here, this little box. It's very small. It's, basically you could fit this in the palm of your hand. And if keen observers might notice that this thing bears a striking resemblance to the Yobo FC game console that came out several years ago. Although it is basically the same design, this is vastly improved over that. Especially in terms of its sound and game compatibility. The NOAC that's in this clone, that is the Nintendo on a chip, is still not as strong as some NOACs are, but it's better than a lot of other clones. It comes with these two controllers, which are right here. There's one of the controllers, and I have to be honest, this has got to be one of the worst Famiclone controllers I've ever used. For one thing, the D-pad is actually lifted off and sort of like a joystick. And I don't know what they were thinking when they designed this, because this is extremely uncomfortable to use at length. As well, the buttons are also extremely uncomfortable to use at length. The buttons actually have these little markings engraved into them. So if you want to use the B and A buttons, you have to hold it like that, or if you want to use the Turbo B and Turbo A, you can use it like this. But geez, like pressing these buttons after a while, your thumb will really start to hurt because these just aren't comfortable to use. The start and select buttons are alright, I guess, and the slow motion is useless, I guess. That's just turbo, that's turbo start. So this is a turbo controller, but its only turbo is its turbo start. Bizarre. As well, the cord is extremely thin. This is a very thin cord. Like you could feel like you could break this in half just with your fingers. As well, the controller build quality is just not there. Fortunately, the Retro Entertainment System also can be used with standard NES controllers. So if you have a standard NES controller, I highly recommend that you use that instead of its controllers that it comes with. If you don't have one, just go on eBay or whatever and buy one, because the OEM Nintendo-made controllers are just so much better, and you will thank yourself for investing in a proper controller. For the sake of this review, I'm going to be using an NES 101 controller, typically known as the dog bone. So this is, my favorite NES controller, but you can use, whatever else you want. You can use the standard rectangular NES 004 controller, the NES Max. You can use the Power Glove if you want. It does take the standard NES controller port standard. Now, what should be mentioned here is because the controller ports are actually on their side, this isn't compatible with certain NES accessories, such as the NES 4-score, for instance. The 4-score would require the two ports to be like side by side vertically, but since they're horizontally, you can't really use it unless you make it make an adapter or something. But yeah, enough of that. Let's talk about compatibility. Now, compatibility with games is pretty universally good for this clone. You can play, the vast majority of the NES library, although of course there will be problematic titles. That's your typical, Castlevania 3 and games like that. The system broadcasts or outputs composite video only. So you need to make sure you're using this with a TV that has, composite input. If you're using a CRT, that shouldn't be a problem, but, you got to make sure you check your newer TVs to see what kind of inputs they have to make sure you can use the standard, yellow, white, and red cables. This does only output mono video, so if you want stereo video, you will have to get a little adapter, which I have right here, which is one of these Y adapters. You can pick these up very cheap. I think you can pick these up for about $1 on eBay or, at your local hardware store. So just like that, I can get both stereo and mono going to the same cord, which will go into the TV and get me left and right audio channels. Alright, with that said, let's put this back in, and let's grab a game. First up, Super Mario Brothers. Game that everyone would love to always test. Now, one other thing I should mention is when using this clone, its original audio that it comes with out of the box is a little bit scratchy, but this can actually be improved very easily if you solder a single 1K ohm resistor along its audio traces. It's a very simplistic mod that you just can do, and that would solve all the audio issues. As well, you can also get expansion audio from Famicom games as well. So that's Famicom games that have additional sound channels built into the cartridge as opposed to the system itself. That requires another external mod that I haven't done yet, but it's just saying it can be done. So with all that said, let's show some gameplay. So here's going to be Super Mario Brothers. So turn this on, and I'm going to turn off the light. Oops. Alright. So here we go. Here is Super Mario Brothers. Now, I'm not sure exactly how good this video will turn out. I hope it will be alright. On screen, the colors look very vibrant. This is, not a inaccurate Famiclone in any way. The colors are just what they should be. Alright, so there's Super Mario Brothers. Next, let's move on and show Mega Man 2. Putting NES games and pulling them out is fairly simple. It doesn't require a whole lot of force as opposed to some clones. So here's Mega Man 2. let's move on. Next game. Pull the game out. How about the famous Super Mario Bros. 3? Now, one thing that should be noted is the DPCM effects of drums and such don't always sound completely correct on this clone. It's more or less noticeable depending on the game. Some games, really do sound screwed up, but, you gotta take what, you gotta take what you're given, because this clone, is only $20, so it's not gonna be perfect, but for the most part, these kind of issues are very minor. The important thing is that it does run, most games, and the games run fine. Alright. Next up, let's show actually a Famicom game in action. So I'm going to play Gradius 2. I'm going to play Gradius 2 with my homemade adapter. So I don't often use this, but there we go. There's Gradius 2. Put this into the thing, and here we go. Gradius 2. You notice the distortion effects. That happens because this Famiclone cannot properly render the DPCM drum effects. Well, that's actually weird. That's a weird glitch. Let me try that again. Oh, sorry. Alright. There we go, that's better. So these are all games that work perfectly, other than, some of the weird effects. So let's move on, and now let's show some games that don't work perfectly, or incorrectly. Chief among them being, of course, MMC5 or MMC4 games, being like Castlevania 3, for example. Castlevania 3, when trying to run on this clone, does the typical thing that most clones do. It won't play the introduction. You get weird audio. The title screen is fine, but has weird effects. It doesn't have the bat. The music is all weird. Try and boot the game. Simon's sprite is all weird. Or actually, which Belmont is that? That's Trevor, yeah. And then the game crashes. So, yeah. Unfortunately, Castlevania 3 or other MMC5 games don't run on this clone, but, they don't run on most clones. Likewise, Afterburner, Tengen's Afterburger. This does not properly display some of the graphics of the game. Oops. Especially not when it's not in properly. Try that again. So this is what the game does. Invisible sea, no background, glitchy. But again, very typical of Noak Famiclones. Pull that out. Likewise, Rad Racer 2. Rad Racer 2 also doesn't work. The first game does, but not the sequel. Put in Rad Racer 2, go to the title screen, and this is what you get. A glitchy mess. There are other games that have similar problems, Gauntlet 2 for example, but I'm not going to go through every game that has problems, but the vast majority of games do work, and you shouldn't have a problem getting, most games to run perfectly. Considering the vast majority of the NES library is either has no mapper, or very simple mappers, or is MMC1 or MMC3. Alright, enough of that. Pull that out. Also, the NES Power Pack doesn't function. It completely just locks up and stays at the title screen of the Power Pack logo. However, if you have the alternative, which is the EverDrive N8, which is made in the Ukraine, taking a proper adapter, you can plug this in, and let's see if this will work. So, it boots up. Well, that's a glitchy mess, but let's try that again. There's another glitchy mess. Plug that in, turn this on, and there we go. Proper. So let's load up another game. I don't know. How about Mega Man 6? Even though I own Mega Man 6, here I'm going to boot it up on a flash cart on a Famiclone. Why? Just because I can. This game boots up perfectly and plays perfectly, even though I'm using not the original hardware and not the original game. Everything here is all just, made by third parties. But I feel justified since I own this game for both the NES and the Famicom, and, other systems as well. Alright, so yeah, that's the Retro Entertainment System Famiclone. If you're looking for a Famiclone, this is a great system to pick up. It's not that expensive. It's not that rare, and it's pretty good. It's not perfect, of course, but for the price, you should pick this up. You should consider picking it up anyway. So thanks for watching, guys. If you have any questions, let me know. And once again, thanks for watching, and see you guys next time.